Some men get midlife crises. I got a wife with suspicious lingerie receipts and a phone glued to her hand like it was dispensing $100 bills. My name is Mason Redden, and at 36, I thought I had life figured out. Construction estimator by day, devoted husband by night, living in a decent 2-story house in Medford, Massachusetts. The kind of place where neighbors still wave and kids ride bikes without helmets. Real Norman Rockwell stuff, except Norman never painted cheating wives. Jade Marin, she kept her maiden name for professional reasons, had been acting strange for months. My wife of 8 years, pharmaceutical sales rep extraordinaire, suddenly needed thongs for client meetings and perfume that cost more than my monthly beer budget. Apparently, selling pressure medication required Victoria's Secret now. Another business trip, she announced one Thursday morning, not looking up from her phone. Her fingers moved across the screen like she was conducting a symphony of secrets. Where to this time? I asked, stirring my coffee and watching her reflection in the kitchen window. Hartford, big presentation for the regional managers. Still typing, still lying. I'd been in construction long enough to spot a bad foundation. Jade's stories had more holes than a condemned building. Hartford was a 2-hour drive, but she packed for a week. Her presentations always happened on weekends now, and pharmaceutical companies apparently required their reps to buy lingerie that would make a Vegas showgirl blush. But here's the thing about being a construction guy. You learn patience. You don't tear down a wall without knowing what's behind it. So I waited, watched, and let Jade dig her own hole. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source: alcohol and misdirected phone calls. Saturday night, 11:30 p.m. I was watching an old Bruins game when Jade's phone buzzed on the coffee table. She'd forgotten it while showering. First time in months, that device wasn't surgically attached to her palm. The voicemail was meant for me, but clearly intended for someone else. "Marco, baby, I can't wait to see you tomorrow." Jade's voice, thick with wine and something that definitely wasn't pharmaceutical enthusiasm. "Mason's working late again, so we'll have the whole afternoon. I bought that red thing you liked in the catalog, the one that barely covers anything." My coffee went cold in my hands. 8 years of marriage, and I'd never heard her voice sound like that when talking about me. Marco. The name hit me like a falling beam. Marco Devlin, owner of PowerFlex Gym downtown. Former minor league hockey player who thought his receding hairline looked distinguished and his leased Lexus impressed women half his age. Apparently, it impressed my wife too. I saved the voicemail and put her phone back exactly where she'd left it. When Jade emerged from the shower, wrapped in the terry cloth robe I'd bought her for Christmas, she looked almost guilty. Almost. "Everything okay, honey?" she asked, noticing my expression. "Just tired," I said. "Long day at the Brookline site." She kissed my forehead, the kind of kiss you give a sick relative, and went to bed. I stayed up until 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling and planning my next move. The following Monday, I did something I'd never done in 8 years of marriage. I followed my wife. Jade left for her client lunch at noon, driving her silver Honda toward downtown. I stayed 3 cars back in my pickup, feeling like a bad private investigator from a worse movie. She didn't go to any restaurant. She went straight to PowerFlex Gym. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, I watched my wife embrace Marco Devlin like they were reuniting after a war. His hands went places that definitely weren't appropriate for a casual acquaintance. She laughed at something he said, throwing her head back the way she used to laugh at my jokes. I sat in my truck for 20 minutes, watching my marriage dissolve in real time. Then I drove home and called in sick for the rest of the week. That's when Calla showed up. Calla Torrin, Jade's younger sister, appeared at my door the following Thursday with a suitcase and the kind of smile that meant trouble for someone. "Mind if I crash?" she asked, pushing past me into the living room. Jade's about to get a taste of her own medicine. Calla was 31, a divorce mediator with sharp eyes and sharper instincts. Where Jade was all smooth surfaces and pharmaceutical polish, Calla had edges. She wore her dark hair short, dressed like she meant business, and had never liked me much, until now. "What are you talking about?" I asked, though part of me already knew. "Marco Devlin." She dropped her suitcase with a thud that echoed through the house. Muscle-bound moron with the personality of wet concrete. Sound familiar? I stared at her. "How did you know about your wife's extracurricular activities?" "Please, Mason. I've been watching Jade destroy relationships since high school. The only surprise is that it took her this long to cheat on you." Calla moved to the kitchen like she owned the place, opening cabinets until she found the coffee. "Want to know a secret? 5 years ago, Jade slept with my fiancé 3 days before our wedding, called it a bachelorette bonus, laughed it off like it was some cute family tradition." The coffee maker gurgled to life. My world tilted slightly off its axis. "She ruined my engagement, destroyed my relationship with David, and never once apologized. Said I was being dramatic and that these things happen. Well, guess what? These things are about to happen to her." I sat down heavily at the kitchen table. "What exactly are you suggesting?" Calla's smile could have cut glass. "I'm suggesting that Jade comes home from her latest business trip to find her sister having coffee with her husband. Nothing inappropriate, nothing illegal. Just two people having a perfectly innocent conversation while she's off playing house with her gym rat. That's it? Coffee? That's it. Sometimes the best revenge is letting someone's imagination do the work." She poured 2 cups, sliding one across to me. "Trust me, I've mediated enough divorces to know how a guilty conscience works. Jade will assume the worst, panic, and make mistakes. Big ones." I thought about the voicemail on my phone, the embrace I'd witnessed, the months of lies and expensive lingerie. What's in it for you? Justice, karma, the satisfaction of watching my sister realize that actions have consequences. Calla sipped her coffee. "Plus, I genuinely think you deserve better than being married to a woman who thinks fidelity is a bank term." We spent the next hour planning. Not a romantic conspiracy, a strategic one. Calla would stay through the weekend, helping me document Jade's affair while playing the role of supportive sister-in-law. When Jade returned, she'd find us together and draw her own conclusions. "The beauty of this plan," Calla explained, "is that we don't have to do anything wrong. We just have to be here when she gets back." Friday evening, Jade called from her conference. "How's Hartford?" I asked. "Boring. Lots of PowerPoint presentations about market penetration." The irony was probably lost on her. "I miss you, baby. Can't wait to get home Sunday." "We miss you too," I said, watching Calla grin from the couch. Saturday, Calla and I went grocery shopping together, had lunch at the local diner, and spent the afternoon organizing my home office. Nothing romantic, nothing inappropriate. Just 2 people spending time together while one of them documented evidence of adultery. We were having coffee Sunday morning when Jade's Honda pulled into the driveway. "Showtime," Calla murmured, settling back in her chair with theatrical calm. I heard Jade's key in the lock, her suitcase wheels on the hardwood floor, her footsteps approaching the kitchen. When she appeared in the doorway, her face went through several interesting color changes. "Calla? What are you doing here?" "Having coffee with Mason," Calla replied cheerfully. "You know, catching up, talking about family stuff, sister things." Jade's eyes darted between us, landing on Calla's overnight bag visible in the hallway. "How long have you been here?" "Since Thursday," I said calmly. She needed a place to stay for a few days. "Thursday?" Jade's voice climbed an octave. "You've been here since Thursday? Alone with my husband?" Calla set down her coffee cup with deliberate precision. "Why are you upset, Jade? It's just family visiting family." Because, Jade sputtered, her pharmaceutical composure cracking like cheap veneer. "Because you can't just show up and stay here while I'm away." "Why not?" Calla's voice carried the tone of someone who already knew the answer. Afraid something might happen? Worried about trust? About loyalty? The color drained from Jade's face. Calla stood slowly, her smile sharp enough to perform surgery. Now you get how it felt. Jade went completely still. What? David, my fiancé, 5 years ago. Remember him? Remember what you called it? A bachelorette bonus? Calla's voice stayed perfectly level. Remember how you laughed when I found out? How you said I was being dramatic? That was different. How? How was it different, Jade? I watched my wife's world tilt off its axis the same way mine had a week earlier. The difference was, Jade deserved it. Jade stormed out, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the windows. Her Honda squealed out of the driveway like she was fleeing a crime scene. In a way, she was. Think she'll call Marco? Calla asked, already cleaning up the coffee cups. Probably already dialing, I said. I was right. 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Stay away from Jade or you'll regret it. I showed Calla the message. She laughed, not a pleasant sound. Marco's threatening you? Perfect. Screenshot that. We'll need it later. For what? Evidence. Documentation. The paper trail that's going to destroy both of them. Calla pulled out her own phone. I've been collecting information on your wife's boyfriend for weeks. Did you know PowerFlex Gym is 3 months behind on rent? Or that Marco's married to a woman named Tina who thinks he's working late every night? My coffee suddenly tasted bitter. He's married. Very. 15 years, 2 kids. Tina Devlin works as a nurse at Mass General and has no idea her husband is playing house with pharmaceutical sales reps. Calla's smile turned predatory. Yet. Over the next week, Calla and I built our case like architects designing a building. Every detail mattered. Every piece of evidence needed to be perfect. First, we visited PowerFlex Gym. I'd never been inside, but Calla insisted we needed to see the territory. Marco was there, strutting around in a tank top that showed off arms like tree trunks and a personality like wet cardboard. That's him, I told Calla as we pretended to tour the facilities. Seriously? That's what Jade threw away her marriage for? Calla studied Marco like he was a particularly unimpressive piece of evidence. He looks like he bench presses his own ego. Marco noticed us. Specifically, he noticed Calla. She was attractive in a sharp, professional way that apparently appealed to men who thought subtlety was a foreign language. You folks interested in a membership? Marco approached with the kind of smile that probably worked on women who confused confidence with intelligence. Maybe, Calla said. My brother-in-law here is thinking about getting back in shape. Brother-in-law. The lie rolled off her tongue like silk. Yeah, well, this is the place for transformation. Marco's eyes lingered on Calla longer than appropriate. I'm Marco, owner and head trainer. I specialize in helping people become their best selves. How inspiring, Calla said dryly. Do you work with many pharmaceutical sales reps? I hear they need to stay in great shape for all those client presentations. Marco's smile flickered. We get all kinds of professionals. I bet you do. We left with a guest pass and Marco's business card. More importantly, we left with confirmation that the man was exactly as sleazy as advertised. That evening, I called Jade. How was work today? I asked, like nothing had changed. Fine, busy, lots of client meetings. The lies came so easily now that I wondered how long she'd been practicing. Listen, about Calla staying there. What about it? It's inappropriate, Mason. She can't just move in whenever she wants. She's family, and she needed help. She needed help seducing my husband. The accusation hung in the air like smoke from a house fire. I let it sit there for a moment, watching it burn. Is that what you think happened, Jade? I don't know what to think anymore. Maybe you should focus on your own behavior instead of imagining problems with mine. Silence. Then, What's that supposed to mean? It means I know about Marco. The silence stretched so long I thought she'd hung up. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. I don't know what you're talking about. The voicemail, Jade. The one you left on your phone last Saturday night. The one meant for your gym boyfriend. I heard her breath catch. Mason, I saw you at PowerFlex. I watched you kiss him like I haven't seen you kiss anyone in years. So before you accuse me of being inappropriate with your sister, maybe take a long look in the mirror. She hung up. Calla, who'd been listening from the kitchen, appeared with 2 beers. How'd that feel? Like I just jumped off a cliff. Good. Now we see where you land. Jade didn't come home that night, or the next. Her absence felt like a weight lifting off the house, like we could finally breathe without walking on eggshells. Wednesday evening, Calla and I were reviewing documents at the kitchen table when my phone rang. Dex Morrison, my foreman, calling after hours usually meant problems. Mason, you might want to know, some muscle-bound jackass came by the Brookline site today asking questions about you. What kind of questions? Personal stuff, where you live, what kind of truck you drive, whether you had problems with your wife. I told him to take a long walk off a short pier, but thought you should know. Thanks, Dex. I owe you. You don't owe me nothing, but whoever this guy is, he's trouble. Watch yourself. I hung up and told Calla what Dex had said. Marco's getting desperate, she said. Good. Desperate people make mistakes. Thursday morning brought the first mistake. I was leaving for work when Marco's Lexus pulled up across the street. He sat there for 10 minutes, engine running, staring at my house like he was planning an invasion. I walked over and tapped on his window. Marco rolled it down, his face flushed with the kind of anger that comes from being caught doing something stupid. You got a problem with me? He asked. I got a problem with you sleeping with my wife, I said calmly. But I'm guessing you already knew that. Jade's not happy in her marriage. She told me. I'm sure she did. Right before she told you she was going to leave me for you? Marco's expression flickered. Apparently, that conversation hadn't happened yet. Here's the thing, Marco. I know about your wife, Tina. I know about your kids. I know PowerFlex is hemorrhaging money and you're 3 months behind on rent. So before you start making threats and stalking me at work sites, maybe think about how much you have to lose. Marco's face went through several color changes. You threatening me? I'm educating you. There's a difference. I walked back to my truck, leaving Marco sitting in his car looking like someone had just explained quantum physics to him in ancient Greek. That afternoon, Calla made her first move. She called PowerFlex Gym and asked to speak with Tina Devlin about scheduling a consultation. When told Tina didn't work there, Calla expressed confusion. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought Marco's wife was involved in the business. A friend of mine mentioned that Tina was really hands-on with the gym operations. No, ma'am. Marco's wife works at the hospital. She's not involved with PowerFlex. How strange. My friend specifically mentioned seeing Tina there last week with a blonde woman, said they looked very close. Silence. Then, what did you say your name was? Calla hung up. Think that'll work? I asked. Gym employees are worse gossips than divorce lawyers, Calla said. By tomorrow, half the staff will be wondering who the blonde woman was and why someone thought she was the owner's wife. Friday brought confirmation that the gossip mill was working. Derek Kozlov, one of Marco's trainers, called the house looking for Jade. I think I have the wrong number, he said when I answered. I'm looking for Jade Marin. She's been working out with Marco and there's some confusion about her membership status. What kind of confusion? Well, Marco's been comping her sessions, but now there are questions about whether that's appropriate, especially since some people are saying she's married to someone else. I almost felt sorry for Derek. Almost. Jade is my wife, I said. And yes, she's been working out with Marco. Very intensively, from what I understand. Oh, oh no. Derek, you might want to update your resume. That evening, Jade finally came home. She looked like she'd been living in her car, wrinkled clothes, dark circles under her eyes, hair that had given up on pharmaceutical perfection. "We need to talk," she said. "About what? Your membership at PowerFlex? Your intensive training sessions with Marco?" She flinched. "It's not what you think." "It's exactly what I think, Jade. The question is, what are you going to do about it?" She sat down at the kitchen table where Calla and I had been planning her downfall for a week. The irony wasn't lost on me. "I made a mistake," she said. "You made a lot of mistakes. Which one are we talking about?" "Marco was just... he made me feel special, appreciated, like I mattered." "And I didn't?" "You took me for granted, Mason. We both know it." I stared at my wife, soon-to-be ex-wife, and felt something shift inside me. Not anger anymore, not hurt. Something colder and more dangerous. "You're right," I said. "I did take you for granted. I assumed you were honest. I assumed you were loyal. I assumed you were the woman I married. My mistake." "So, what now?" she asked. "Now you pack your things and move out. Tonight." "This is my house too." "Actually, it's not." Calla's voice came from the doorway. She'd been listening, probably taking notes. "The house is in Mason's name only. Has been since he bought it 3 years before you got married." Jade's face went white. "That's not true." "Check the deed," Calla said cheerfully. "I did. Public records are wonderful things. You can't just throw me out." "I'm not throwing you out," I said. "I'm asking you to leave. There's a difference. You can stay with Marco. I'm sure Tina won't mind." The look on Jade's face was worth 8 years of marriage. Jade left that night, but not quietly. She packed 2 suitcases while slamming drawers and muttering threats about lawyers and alimony and community property. Calla and I watched from the living room like we were attending a very expensive theater performance. "She'll be back," Calla said after Jade's Honda disappeared down the street. "This isn't over." She was right. Saturday morning brought the first counterattack. My phone rang at 7 a.m. Unknown number. "Mason Redden? This is Patricia Vance from Vance & Associates. I represent Jade Marin in her divorce proceedings." I hadn't even filed yet, but apparently Jade was moving fast. "What can I do for you, Ms. Vance?" "My client is prepared to be reasonable about asset division, but she's concerned about your recent behavior, specifically your inappropriate relationship with her sister." I almost laughed. "What inappropriate relationship?" "Ms. Torrin has been living in your home while your wife was traveling for business. That suggests an extramarital affair." "It suggests hospitality. Calla needed a place to stay. I provided one. Nothing inappropriate happened. Nevertheless, my client feels that your behavior demonstrates a pattern of marital misconduct that should be considered in any settlement. Tell your client that her own pattern of marital misconduct is well documented. If she wants to play the blame game, I have evidence that will make her pharmaceutical career very interesting." Silence. Then, "What kind of evidence?" "The kind that proves she's been conducting her own extramarital relationship for months, with a married man, while lying to her husband about business trips." More silence. "I'll speak with my client." She hung up. I turned to Calla, who'd been listening with the expression of someone watching her favorite movie. "Think that scared them?" I asked. "It should, but scared people do stupid things." Sunday proved her right. I was in the garage organizing tools when Marco's Lexus pulled into my driveway. This time, he wasn't alone. Jade sat in the passenger seat, and both of them looked like they'd been drinking. They got out of the car and approached the garage like they were storming a beach. Marco's chest was puffed out in a display of masculine stupidity that would have been funny if it wasn't so pathetic. "We need to settle this," Marco announced. "Settle what?" I asked, not looking up from my toolbox. This whole situation. Jade and me, you and her sister. All of it. I straightened up and looked at them. Really looked. Jade appeared smaller somehow, like the last week had deflated her. Marco looked like a man trying to convince himself he was in control of a situation that had already spiraled beyond his comprehension. What exactly do you want to settle, Marco? Jade's going to divorce you. We're going to be together. You can have your little revenge thing with her sister, but stop trying to sabotage our relationship. How am I sabotaging your relationship? You called my wife. Marco's voice cracked slightly. Tina's asking questions about blonde women and gym memberships and all kinds of stuff. I never called your wife. Someone did. Someone who knew about me and Jade. I glanced toward the house where Calla was probably watching through the kitchen window. Maybe your wife's just observant. This is ridiculous, Jade said, speaking for the first time. Mason, just sign the divorce papers and let's move on with our lives. What divorce papers? You filed yesterday. Patricia says we can have everything settled in a week if you cooperate. I set down my wrench and gave them my full attention. Define cooperate. 50-50 split of assets. No alimony either way. Clean break. And in return? You stop harassing Marco and his family. The audacity was breathtaking. They wanted me to quietly accept being cheated on, give up half of everything I'd worked for, and pretend their affair hadn't destroyed my marriage. Counteroffer, I said. You get your personal belongings and whatever you brought into the marriage. I keep the house, my retirement account, and my truck. In return, I don't send the recording of your drunk voicemail to your boss at PharmaCorp. Jade went pale. What recording? I pulled out my phone and played 30 seconds of her drunken confession about red lingerie and afternoon encounters. Her voice echoed through the garage like a confession at Sunday Mass. That's illegal, Marco sputtered. You can't record someone without permission. Actually, in Massachusetts, only one party needs to consent to recording a phone conversation. Since it was my phone, I consented. I looked at Jade. Your move. You bastard, she whispered. I'm the bastard? I'm not the one who spent 8 months lying to my spouse while conducting an affair with a married man. Marco's getting divorced too, Jade said defensively. I looked at Marco. Really? When did you tell Tina? Marco's silence was answer enough. Let me guess, I continued. You told Jade you were getting divorced, but you haven't actually filed papers, haven't told your wife, haven't done anything except cheat on her with my wife. It's complicated. It's simple. You're a liar. Jade's a liar. You deserve each other. That's when Marco made his biggest mistake. He stepped toward me with his fists clenched, apparently thinking his gym muscles gave him some kind of advantage. You need to watch your mouth, he said. Or what? You'll hit me? In my own garage, in front of witnesses? I pulled out my phone again and started recording. Go ahead, Marco. Show me what kind of man steals another guy's wife and then threatens him in his own home. Marco realized he was being recorded and stopped advancing, but the damage was done. His threat was captured in high definition. That's what I thought, I said. All muscle, no brains. No wonder Jade was attracted to you. She's got the same problem. Jade's face flushed red. You son of a... Careful, Jade. You're being recorded too. They left without another word, Marco's Lexus squealing out of the driveway like a teenager having a tantrum. Calla appeared in the garage doorway as soon as they were gone. Please tell me you got that on video, she said. Every second. Good, because we're going to need it. For what? Phase 2. Monday morning, I did something I'd never done in 15 years of construction work. I took a personal day to destroy 2 people's lives. Calla had spent the weekend researching Massachusetts divorce law, employment regulations, and social media policies. By sunrise, we had a battle plan that would have impressed a military strategist. First target, Marco's marriage. Calla called PowerFlex Gym and asked to speak with Marco about personal training rates. When he came to the phone, she put on her most professional voice. Mr. Devlin, this is Catherine Torres from Bay State Insurance. We're investigating a claim involving your facility and need to verify some information. What kind of claim? A client alleges that inappropriate conduct occurred during personal training sessions, specifically that married trainers were conducting extramarital relationships with clients. That's ridiculous. I'm sure it is. But we need to document your response. Are you married, Mr. Devlin? Yes, but... And have you ever engaged in romantic or physical relationships with clients? Silence. Mr. Devlin? I want to speak to a lawyer. That's your right. But please understand that we'll be contacting your wife as part of our investigation. Tina Devlin, correct? Nurse at Massachusetts General Hospital? Marco hung up. Think that worked? I asked. He'll call Tina within an hour to warn her about the insurance investigator. She'll ask questions he can't answer. By tonight, she'll know everything. Calla was right. That afternoon, my neighbor Mrs. Stamos called to tell me that a very angry woman had shown up at PowerFlex Gym and could be heard screaming at Marco through the windows. Quite a scene, Mrs. Stamos said. The police had to come calm things down. Second target, Jade's career. PharmaCorp had strict policies about employee conduct and public representation. Calla found them online and highlighted the relevant sections. Employees are expected to maintain the highest standards of personal and professional integrity, and conduct that reflects poorly on the company's reputation may result in disciplinary action up to and including termination. I called PharmaCorp's Human Resources Department. I'd like to report a concern about one of your sales representatives, I told the woman who answered. What kind of concern? My wife, Jade Marin, has been conducting an extramarital affair with a married man. I have recordings of her discussing their physical relationship and evidence of her lying to clients about her whereabouts while conducting this affair. Sir, we don't typically get involved in employees' personal lives. Even when those personal lives involve lying to clients and conducting affairs during business hours? Even when your employee is using company time and resources to facilitate adultery? Silence. Can you hold, please? 20 minutes later, a supervisor called me back. Mr. Redden, this is Jennifer Walsh, Director of Human Resources. I understand you have concerns about your wife's conduct. I have evidence of my wife's conduct. The question is whether PharmaCorp wants to see it before or after it becomes public. What do you mean, public? I mean, I'm filing for divorce and this evidence will be part of the court record. Unless, of course, PharmaCorp would prefer to handle this internally. We'll need to investigate any allegations. I'll email you the evidence this afternoon. I hung up and looked at Calla. Think they'll fire her? They'll put her on administrative leave pending investigation. Same result, better optics. Third target, their relationship. The beautiful thing about destroying an affair is that affairs are built on lies, secrecy, and selfishness. Remove those foundations and the whole structure collapses. That evening, I sent identical text messages to both Jade and Marco. Tina knows everything. PharmaCorp is investigating. Your move. Then I sat back and watched them destroy each other. Jade called first, hysterical. What did you do? What did you tell them? I told them the truth, Jade. Novel concept, I know. They're suspending me pending investigation. I could lose my job. You should have thought about that before you decided to conduct your affair during business hours. This is all your fault. My fault? I didn't cheat on my spouse with a married man. I didn't lie to my employer about my whereabouts. I didn't destroy my own marriage for a gym rat with the IQ of a barbell. She hung up. Marco called an hour later, sounding like a man watching his world burn. My wife left me, he said. Took the kids to her mother's house. I'm sorry to hear that. No, you're not. This is what you wanted. What I wanted was a faithful wife. What I got was a cheating spouse and her muscle-bound boyfriend. I'm just working with the materials I was given. Jade's blaming me for everything. Says I promised to leave Tina and never did. Did you promise to leave Tina? It's complicated. It's simple, Marco. You lied to my wife the same way she lied to me. You're perfect for each other. She won't return my calls. Maybe she's found someone new to lie to. Marco hung up. Tuesday brought the final collapse. Jade showed up at the house at 9 a.m., looking like she hadn't slept in days. Her pharmaceutical polish was completely gone, replaced by the hollow-eyed desperation of someone whose carefully constructed life had just imploded. I need to talk to you, she said. About what? About fixing this. About saving our marriage. I stared at her. You want to save our marriage? I made a mistake, Mason. A terrible mistake. But we can work through this. Where's Marco? Marco's done. His wife filed for divorce yesterday. He's losing the gym, losing his kids, losing everything. And you're losing your job. PharmaCorp might give me another chance if I can prove the affair is over and I'm working on my marriage. The audacity was stunning. She'd destroyed our marriage, ruined Marco's family, and now wanted me to help her save her career. Let me understand this, I said. You want to pretend our marriage is worth saving so you can keep your job? I want to actually save our marriage. I realize now what I had with you, what I threw away. What you had with me was a husband who trusted you, who believed in you, who worked his ass off to build a life with you. You threw that away for a few months of excitement with a married loser. I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Mason. Sorry doesn't fix anything, Jade. What would fix it? What do you want? I looked at my wife, my soon-to-be ex-wife, and felt nothing. No anger, no hurt, no love. Just emptiness where 8 years of marriage used to be. I want you to sign the divorce papers, I said. I want you to take your personal belongings and leave. I want you to never contact me again unless it's through lawyers. And if I don't, then I release everything. The voicemail, the photos of you and Marco at the gym, the recording of him threatening me in my garage. I send it all to PharmaCorp, to Marco's wife, to anyone who will listen. You're bluffing. I pulled out my phone and showed her a draft email addressed to the local news station. The subject line read, Pharmaceutical sales rep conducts affair with married gym owner during business hours. Try me. Jade stared at the phone screen for a long moment. When she looked up, her eyes were filled with tears that might have been genuine. I loved you, she said. No, you didn't. You loved the security I provided. You loved having someone to come home to when Marco wasn't available. You loved the idea of being married more than you loved being married to me. That's not true. It's completely true. And deep down, you know it. She signed the papers that afternoon. 3 months later, I was officially divorced. Jade moved to Connecticut, where she found a job with a smaller pharmaceutical company at half her previous salary. Marco lost PowerFlex Gym to bankruptcy and now works as a personal trainer at a chain fitness center. His ex-wife, Tina, got the house, the kids, and most of his assets. Calla moved back to her own apartment but stayed in touch. We'd become genuine friends through the process of destroying my marriage, an odd foundation for a relationship, but a solid one. I kept the house, my retirement account, and my truck. More importantly, I kept my self-respect and learned a valuable lesson about trust, loyalty, and the difference between love and convenience. Sometimes people ask if I regret how I handled things. If I think I was too harsh, too vindictive, too calculating, the answer is no. Jade and Marco made their choices. They chose lies over honesty, selfishness over loyalty, temporary pleasure over permanent commitment. I simply made sure they experienced the consequences of those choices. Justice isn't always pretty, but it's always fair.